It's interesting how you want to be remembered.
So I asked the question about what I hope the legacy is.
When thinking about your legacy, what are people going to remember about you, about your operation?
It's been an honor to be part of the Simmental family. And like any family, there is a legacy. And to me, the legacy is so important to continue on.
I hope the legacy for the next generation have the passion for our breed that we have spent a lifetime building.
Good morning. I'm Gaylene Groeneveld from G5 Cattle Company. My first years in Simmental started very young. And actually, my years in the cattle business started when I was 14 years old. And my dad brought my brothers and I 3 bred Hereford heifers. Of course, my brothers had great calves, no problems. My heifer died calving. Like, welcome to the beef cattle industry. I've had beef cattle all my life, really, and I still do. And when I was going to high school and in 4-H, which I was for like 8 years in the Bow Valley Beef Club, when I was done school and done my college, I decided that I'd look into other options. And actually, when my husband Jack and I got married in 1968, we had some commercial Hereford cows. And those cows were owned with Jack's brother, Chuck Groeneveld, and his dad, John. So one year, Jack decided, in fact, I think it was 1969, he decided that he was going to take an AI course at Prairie Breeders in Pritis. So that was great. The only problem was his dad, who loved Hereford cattle and had them all his life, didn't know about that because he was afraid that Jack might find another breed other than his Hereford breed. And Jack did. He saw the Simmental bulls pictures, and that's what he wanted to do, and heard that Simmental would add weight to your commercial cattle. From there, the next year, Chuck and Jack purchased semen on a bull called Prairie Boy, which was owned by Bill Hart at Prairie Breeders. And Prairie Boy AI'd about 80 cows. Out of the 120 that they had in their commercial herd, they had just about 80 Simmental cross calves. The ironic part about that is that Jack's dad, when those calves were born that next spring, saw the performance of Simmental versus the other breeds, and he said to the boys, go to the pen, load up those old bulls, and take them to town because we now have changed to Simmental. And actually, in 1976, Chuck and Jack decided through Highwood Land and Cattle, which was our company name, that we were going to purchase 80 purebred Simmental cows from SBL Simmental Breeders Limited at Cardston, Alberta. We did that, and we were now purebred Simmental breeders. In 1981, Jack and I formed G5 Cattle Company, and it was ourselves and our 3 young daughters. Chuck remained Highwood Land and Cattle Company, and to this day, his granddaughter, Stacy, has taken that name. What we've done through the years, and I think we started about 1979 or 1980, and started showing cattle at Farm Fair, Agribition, Calgary Stampede, and our daughters really liked it. And so we just continued on, and they did a lot of the showing when they were young. We did have some major achievements. We won Grand and Reserve at several shows at Farm Fair and Agribition through the years. And then in 1980, we had a heifer calf that we showed at Agribition, who was a March calf. And at that time, we showed down in the ring where the rodeo is now, and there was 198 heifer calves that year. In the fall of 1980, and John Draper won second place reserve to our daughter, who was 11 years old, showed the champion heifer calf. John just looked over and went, what the heck is this about? It was kind of a funny moment, but a great achievement in our life. That heifer went on to win Denver, San Antonio, Houston, and other shows in the US. And Nick Overpeck was the gentleman that took him down there. And as I say, she was very successful. We flushed her, we had successful luck with her. And our main herd kind of started with that particular cow. Her name was Miss Bow Valley 1M, and she was born in March of 1980. From then on, we really promoted and hit the Simmental shows, if you wish, for lack of a better term. And then I really got interested in actually promoting and doing a lot of other things with Simmental along the road. So that's when I got involved in some of the marketing and some of the ways and the volunteering that I could help and be part of the Simmental breed and still be very successful in our own operation. The Alberta Simmental Association was formed in 1970. And in 1971, it was officially designated its own association. And that particular year, history was made because they had a sale at Lacombe that netted them $9,300. From there, the association opened a bank account and had sale proceeds put in it, and that's what started the ASA. Now, Jack and I joined the Alberta Simmental Association a few years later, and as a volunteer and asked if I would be on that committee and that board, I, of course, said yes, I would love to. So I served as a director on the ASA board for a number of years. And when I did leave, I was vice president. And I thought, well, about 8 years is probably plenty to serve on a board. And I had another motive in mind. My mind said, we can expand and have great things at Farm Fair in Edmonton. It's a major Alberta show, and I think it's important that we should start events that really make Simmental the forefront of the beef industry at Farm Fair. So I think we should start a People's Choice event where all breeders were involved. So that event, along with Elaine Hiller, Kenny Lewis, and a few of us, started the ASA Double Crown. And that Double Crown event went for years. And what it was individual breeders could pay a fee to show their particular animal at Farm Fair in a People's Choice atmosphere. Actually, the breeders themselves judged the cattle, and at the end of the day, the ones that came out and were winners got the $10,000 winning that was presented to them. That's why it was called Double Crown, because the people themselves voted on the champion. It was a great event. We had banquets. We had memberships of about 100 to 120 every year, because people would buy memberships to do a drawdown that would give them absolutely awesome prizes. And with those prizes came along the bit that everybody took part in promoting Simmental. And believe you me, when we had those prizes displayed and all these members took part in this, we had people walking down those aisles 24 hours a day. It was great to have that for many years, and it went on. And I'm proud to say that I carried that on and ran that event for about 15 years. And I'm sorry, I'm only guessing at that time frame, but it was wonderful. And there was a couple of things that really stood out that I think that people just loved. One was I got a half-ton, brand new half-ton donated, and Jack and Chuck built a board in the back near the top, and we filled it with peanuts. So it looked like it was a pickup full of peanuts. Well, guess what? Everybody in the barn wants free peanuts. So everybody in the barn came to where the pickup was, full of peanuts. And of course, it was strategically placed exactly where you needed to walk down the Simmental aisles of cattle. Another time, I got a four-wheeler quad donated, and we sold tickets on it for $100. But the part of the $100 was you got a red cup with your name on it. And in the red cup was Simmental show mix. And you can imagine what Simmental show mix was. It was a big, large garbage can full of, quote, Simmental show mix with fruits and other refreshing things, stirred with a show stick, handed out in the red cup. All that money went towards this ATV draw. The winner of the draw was Merle Arnson, and within a half an hour, he sold that to Jimmy Smith of Checkmate Simmentals. To this day, when I speak to AJ, she says, I still use that four-wheel driver around the cows and on the farm. So we had great times there. We had great parties, and we had great people, and I absolutely love coordinating those Simmental events at Farm Fair. So I was on the Farm Fair Beef Cattle Committee for a number of years, coordinating and organizing the Simmental events at Farm Fair. And you got to think, when you're a beef rep, in my opinion, it's important to get what you want for your breeders on your committee. And so it was important to say, I would like to show on day so-and-so, and we're going to have this number of animals, and we want to be part of everything in the main barn. And sometimes it was a struggle, but most of the times I got my own way. And I think we had a lot of cattle and a lot of entries that appreciated all that extra work that was on that All Breeds Farm Fair Beef Committee. Another committee that I was on for many, many years, because I have volunteered for many years, is the Calgary Stampede. I was a volunteer on the Calgary Stampede for 37 years. I know, maybe it was a bit much, but there I was. I love the kids, I love the volunteering, and I love Stampede. And to this day, I have a granddaughter and a grandson that show there in the Steer Classic. Last year they won grand champions, and it's just so fulfilling to me to know that that legacy of my kids and my grandkids has gone that far. After the Stampede, I volunteered a lot on 4-H on Parade. I chaired that for a number of years in Calgary, which is a major 4-H event. It's the largest in Western Canada. And I think that through those junior events and things that you can volunteer for with the shows, it's great for the community. It's wonderful for our family, not just because I like doing it, but because it's important to get that out there. And Roger Dagg was also the Simmental rep with me on the Calgary Stampede Committee. And actually, he and I were awarded a medal from the Queen as volunteers of the Beef Cattle Committee. And that to me is very significant and important when you have a medal that was given to you on behalf of Queen Elizabeth. The Simmental Bells were formed in the 1970s. I was not on the initial board that was delegated, but in the next year or two, I did join the Simmental Bells. Their mission was to promote Simmental, obviously, to the world. And the men were there, and they were showing, and they were doing most of the things that you would do to promote Simmental. However, knowing men as they are, they don't set up the booth, they don't buy the goodies, and they don't go out and really promote and do that kind of stuff. And then we thought, why aren't us ladies doing it? So we got a booth. They purchased some, what at the time were beautiful Simmental things. and the caps with the little puffies on top, the blue and gold show jackets, and all those kind of things that were in the time pretty fashionable. But the main thing was for the ladies to get involved. And through the years, obviously it came apparent that there wasn't that many ladies in the show ring that were showing cattle. And it was really noticeable at Agribition that it was a, quote, man's show. So we thought we have to have some ladies in there somehow that would really represent what Simmental is and what we care about. And one year I said, why don't we get a Simmental heifer calf and sell it as a bred in Agribition, because there were huge sales in Agribition then. And we could have a profit that would start a really good promotional way to promote ladies in Simmental. And so we donated the heifer. I fed the heifer for the year, brought it back to Agribition as a bred, and Shaw West Farms out of Edmonton bought the heifer for $3,500. That was a huge, huge deal. And the Simmental bells were well on their way. Some of the funny things that happened were things like on Thursday we would have Old Ladies' Day in the swamp. And of course, everybody's familiar with the swamp. So there were people like Bonnie Glazeman, Lorraine Groeneveld, myself, and some others that literally went to the swamp Thursday afternoon and had a party. And we celebrated Old Ladies' Day in the swamp. And to this day, I remember people like Bonnie Glazeman, Lorraine Groeneveld, Carol Henry, Carol Ball, all those kind of ladies. We all did what we could do to promote Simmental to the public and to the beef industry. And we enjoyed it so much that it was just something that everybody expected us to do at Agribition every year and to be there. And that's what we did. And we did that for years. In 1994, Garth McClintock with Alberta Beef asked me if I could put together a 24-page 5x7 booklet to be included in their summer edition of the Alberta Beef magazine. To which I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, you just have to go out, do the story of the history of the Simmental breed, write the stories, sell the advertising, and get it published, and we'll put it in our Alberta Beef summer issue." So that's fine. I said, "I'm not sure about that, because what do I have to do?" And he said, "Well, we're going to give you a computer, and you have to take your pictures and write down your notes, etc." And I thought, well, okay, I can do this. Never had before, but I can do this. So I went down to SBL, checked out Parisienne, and the people down there, had some interviews and so on and so forth. Got that pretty well done. Then I was phoning advertisers to say, would you put an advertisement in there? Because obviously somebody had to pay for this little brochure that was going in this. So my little brochure, when I went in there to Garth's office originally, he said, "You have to use a computer." And I'm going like, uh-oh, that's the C word. What do we do? He gave me a phone book, and a computer with a floppy disk and a desk, and said, "There's your room. There you go." So that's how that started. When I ended up with this little booklet that went in the Alberta Beef for the 25th anniversary of Simmental, I ended up with 64 pages. So that was very successful to him and lucrative. And so he said, "Would you like to come on and the sales staff and do some writing for the Alberta Beef magazine?" So I said, "Well, why not?" So I did that for, a year or so. And then we were thinking, now what else could we add to this? And so me, being the 4-H person that I was, went to the Alberta 4-H and said, I'd like to start a 4-H magazine. I, meaning Garth, I, and we made it Chinook Publishing. So after a year of that, we did that 4 times a year. I thought, why am I doing all this work and Alberta Beef is reaping up the cash? Because it was pretty good money in those days. So I went on and I had to change the name. So I changed our name to Prime Cut Publishing. We published and started the Alberta Cloverleaf Quarterly magazine, which went out 4 times a year to all the 4-H families in Alberta, which was approximately, I think, about 5,000 at that time. It was very popular. Every 4-H family loved it. Did that for about 3 years until the Alberta government said, oh no, we don't want to spend that money, and we're going to put a new guy in there. And that was the end of it. They sent out a few emails to their members. And so I thought, well, if that's the end of that one, I'm going to start another one. And it's going to be called the Simmental Trail. That's where Prime Cut Publishing started the Simmental Trail magazine. Just a small magazine that went to all the Alberta Simmental members. Lois Gould had started one in Manitoba about the year before, and it was very successful. So I thought, well, we can do that. So I did that for, another 3-4 years or whatever. And then it was, I think, about 1999, 97 maybe, the Canadian Simmental Association came to me and said, would you manage Simmental Country? There's only one condition. You have to drop the Simmental Trail. I thought about that, and I thought, well, maybe I can expand out of Alberta and do a Canadian one. So I did. I had 5 staff that worked for me. Frank Mapletop, as I think everybody in the breed would know Frank Mapletop. He worked with me and sold ads and did the pictures and went to sales and all that. We had very successful magazines that we put out every month for 11 times a year. And that lasted, I think, about 3 years. And then the association went further with their promotion and their marketing products and went to a little bit lesser copies. And that turnover eventually is turned over. One thing I appreciate about the YCS is the work that they do to get young people within the Simmental breed. In 1981, when Jack and I formed G5 Cattle Company, the same time we purchased a full life membership for our 3 daughters, Shannon, Heather, and Kim. They still have those life memberships. Heather was fortunate enough to win a trip and went down to Texas, and they've raised the cattle through these years. They still have their cattle, they still do well, and their grandchildren carry on. The YCS program is such an important program within the Canadian Association to bring up these young people to respect the cattle, to learn more about the industry. And today it's so important that the genetics that they learn from, the animals and pedigrees that they choose, and all those decisions that they make in life in a breeding program came from their initial participation in the YCS program. I think it's awesome, and I condemn all of the YCS kids. Jack and I have been married 56 years, and through those years, we have enjoyed taking our kids to gymkhanas, going to cattle events, doing 4-H events, all those things that's important to families. Also, we farmed 5,000 to 6,000 acres of crop every year. So we generally had a few extras along there helping us. The kids had to learn to cook, and they had to learn to run a combine and a baler when they were young. And so to me, those kind of values are important for families and to keep those families together. As of today, all of our kids were and are involved in the livestock industry in some way or another. We have daughters, Shannon, Heather, and Kim. They have their children. There is, as I said, 11 of them. We live 10 miles west of Olds on a beautiful ranch where we have our purebred Simmentals, along with Tim and Kim Matthews and their purebred Angus herd. They run 150 purebred Angus cows. Their daughter and son are heavily involved in the youth programs and show steers throughout the spring with very, very successful results. So in all, our life has just been absolutely great. Our family's great, and we're just happy to still be in the Simmental business. I've always said through the years, it's the people that make the breed and the breed that make the people. Without the handshake and the people that you meet, the cattle breed doesn't survive. And it's really evident in the Simmental industry that that's exactly what's happened, becoming one of the major breeds in Canada that started with Parisian in 1969. I'm proud to say that this association and these people have done so much for the beef cattle industry. We've gone through so many changes and so many upgrades and so many thoughts of the way the association and the cattle should be. We truly appreciate that those changes do make history, and history has been made by this breed. It's been an honor to be part of the Simmental family. And like any family, there is a legacy. And to me, the legacy is so important to continue on. And to me, a legacy is something that goes on for generations. And it goes right from the top, from the grandparents, the parents, the grandchildren. It goes right down the family. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. A legacy is a legacy. And it's something to be cherished and to be loved and appreciated. And certainly us and our family and G5 Cattle are so proud to have been part of the legacy of Simmental. And to this day, I'm so proud that I still have Simmental cattle, and I will to the day that I die. The only change I have made is I went from light-colored cattle to spotted cattle to red cattle, and now I breed black Simmental cattle. So I really appreciate the effort and the time that's spent, and I will have these cattle till the day I die. I would hope that my involvement in the Simmental breed has in some small way assisted and has been appreciated by people within the industry. I certainly appreciate the times that I have been honored by the ASA and the CSA for events and organizations and things that I have done on a voluntary basis, and hope that they will be appreciated as much as I appreciate them. I would like to say to everyone, if you're going to pick a breed, pick Simmental. It's the best.